When you despair, all that you need to remember is that there is a higher self calling you to a better future as an individual. In session 36 of the Raw Contact, Ra says, quote, "The higher self is moving the mind-body-spirit complex as needed from a position and development of the entity which would be considered in the future in this entity." So there is this higher self which is guiding your actions somehow if you allow it to. The higher self is a sixth density being existing within this energy level or density of light on the cusp of seventh density. So this is close to the actual experience of the creator by itself, and this higher self is able to make contact and participate in our self-actualization through the future as we understand things. So there's this higher self which is self-distributively programming itself in the past in order to bring about its own emergence. So there is this super spiritual identity that is then trying to program our own lives in order such that it can come about, and this exists as the best possible future. So from the standpoint of our space-time, it exists within the future because the potential always programs from the future. So where space-time is the surface structure of reality or terminal domain, in the words of Christopher Lang in CTMU, time-space is the world of design or potential, the spiritual world or deep structure of reality that programs its terminal instances, so to speak. The higher self is a non-terminal or spiritual identity that distributes programming through time-space from the non-terminal body, from your spirit to your terminal physical body, from the future to the past. So basically, there is a higher self that is connecting to your current self, and then it gives instructions on how you can have the optimal spiritual emergence. So there's this notion in the CTMU of retrocausation, that there's actually a space of potential that programs the present from a non-terminal domain from the future. So this is a bit of an involved concept. Basically, all that you need to understand for the time is that that your higher self is a very strong potential which wants to come about, and it's going to try to figure out how to make itself come about through all of these strings it can pull in the terminal domain. So in this abstract space of potential in the non-terminal domain is included your fundamental identity as a mind-body-spirit complex totality, even beyond the higher self. This is fully actualized itself that has remembered its source in seventh density intelligent infinity. And so there is this spiritual identity of yourself that exists in this abstract space of potential, but then there's a little bit lower down is this actual potential for how you could exist in the world, and this is what is programming your life. So this potential technically exists in the future if you want to think of it that way, but it's our wills and intention at the present which can cause those things to manifest themselves in the world. And the process by which we manifest things in the world and can potentially bring about our higher self is through telic recursion. It's how we invest our agentive telesis, our mind, our will, and intention, and that is how we can program our reality. So the higher self is the convergence of agentive telesis towards optimal personality crystallization and teleological self-actualization. We're not just observers, we are participants in the evolving and changing structure of reality. And so the higher self allows reality to make axioms through itself for the lives and destinies of entities of human beings in order such that it can self-generatively evolve towards this end of the complete and final actualization of the self. So reality is not predetermined or random, but generates and evolves through observer participants actualizing themselves according to teleology and the higher self, and it takes our hand and guides us towards teleology, so we'll always know what is the right thing to do if we are attentive and careful. So this gives us the responsibility / duty to participate in the organic evolution of the universe in a way advantageous to ultimate reality. So basically bringing about our higher self is good for ourselves, it is becoming for ourselves, and it is becoming for reality. So both of these things, it's good for us, and it's good for reality. So if we can bring about our higher self, that's what we want to do, because the higher self is begging to be brought about, but we need to let it. The higher self is who we could be through proper telecrecursion if we use these disciplines of the personality in order to reach our optimal possible state. Ra says parallel existences can then be programmed by the higher self, given the information available from the mind-body-spirit complex totality regarding the probability, possibility of vortices at any crux. So how does this work? So since the soul is a mapping that attaches God to the secondary images, at the one end of this mapping, you are a created being, you are dust and ashes. But at the other end of the mapping, you share an identity with all of existence. And that means that your particular terminal incarnation, if it's advantageous to the overall purpose and structure of reality, you can be retracted upward along the mapping that created you and have a chance to reunite with God. Because your metaphysical material, so to speak, is useful to God, it will carry you and regenerate your non-physical existence, creating these parallel existences, coupling you with other instances of yourself in other terminal domains, and that allows you to continue to participate in the self-identification of God, including a heaven body, a resurrection body, as the positive reward aspect needed for the self-identification of God through your terminal instance, recharging your batteries, so to speak. This is the true meaning of internal life. Once you get into the deeper teleodynamics of the CTMU, you can begin to speak of things like reincarnation, afterlives, as making sense as part of the human meta-life cycle. But this will, for the time being, be restricted to more advanced presentations. Ross says, the choices which must be made to achieve the higher self as it is are in the providence of the mind-body-spirit complex itself. So we have the choice on whether or not we want to help actualize our higher self, and that is up to us and us only. The higher self programs a curriculum, so to speak, of the challenges, trials, missions, and catalysts in your life for your spiritual evolution. So we can choose to accept those challenges and those trials, or we can reject them. We can shirk back from them, and there's no judgment. We have free will. So you, the mind-body-spirit complex, must still be receptive and responsive to them, and you must participate in your own destiny through proper telecrecursion. And the higher self knows how to get you from your present state to the sixth density, but you need to let it. So the higher self, it can get you to that pure light, that bordering on intelligent infinity, but then your highest level of identity, still you have to listen to it. You can't cut it off because it is pure and invariant, and you are someone who has free will, meaning that you can choose to reject that and go to lower levels of wisdom and use your free will less optimally, or you can use it to actualize your higher self and participate in the structure and creation of reality. Russ says, the higher self is like a map in which the destination is known. So we know what the destination is. The destination is the actualization of the higher self through your mind, body, spirit. It's who you could be. The roads are very well known. We also know the path to get to there. It's making all the correct decisions and living within the love and light of the one infinite creator. The roads are designed by intelligent infinity working through intelligent energy. So there is a telic medium that is generating the path through which you can get from your present state to your optimal state. However, the higher self aspect can program only for the lessons and certain predisposing limitations if it wishes. The remainder is completely the free choice of each entity. If you're acting in accordance with God's will and the moral law of the universe with intelligence and discipline, then your higher self will automatically guide you into who you ought to be through the process of telecrecursion in order to actualize the best of all possible worlds for yourself and for others. You see, by virtue of this process of teleological destiny, whatever you do becomes your own proto-universe. Therefore, Ross says, the mechanism of inspiration involves an extraordinary faculty of desire or will to know or to receive in a certain area, accompanied by the ability to open to and trust what you might call intuition, faith. God is sharing his authority with you, and you are participating in co-creating as you ought to in reality, uniting creation back to God through the self-identification and self-experience of your higher self by your mind-body-spirit complex. This is the essence, as Soren Kierkegaard spoke of the leap of faith, or more accurately, the leap into faith. So the question is, how does that scale to our collective phases of existence at the societal level and at the level of ultimate reality. There is a collective oversoul that thrusts us forward into the future, a product of our collective will as a species. This has been variously called the zeitgeist, or the spirit of the time, the ghost of the times, literally. But the truth is that what Langham calls a telon, a collective item of intentionality at the primary or secondary levels of God and his secondary images like us, respectively call forth the events which occur in the universe at these various levels of structural complexity. Therefore, there is a sort of feedback between the life and destiny of individuals and the life and destiny of society as a whole. So there is this striving towards a higher end, which the whole, therefore, cannot be seen by anyone, of love and understanding as a planet and as a species. So there is a higher self, not just of us as individuals, but a higher self as a planetary species that is calling us towards this greater degree of love and wisdom. And the only obstacle to this fourth density level is already being called forth, is our lack of fortitude, refusal to comport with God's moral law and teleology, and a failure to participate in our own destinies as individuals and as a species. We need to intelligently unite as a species behind love and understanding in order to actualize this higher self as a species, and immediately our reality will transform. As the great Russian novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky penned in his masterpiece, The Brothers Karamazov, we don't understand that life is heaven, for we have only to understand that, and it will at once be fulfilled in all its beauty. We will embrace each other and weep. Let the light shine forth in the darkness. May the peace of our Father in heaven be upon you. Like and subscribe. Peace.